All right, let's call to order the joint meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Housing Authority for April 4th, 2023. May we have roll call for the council, please?
Yes, council members Azatarian.
Here.
Brotman.
Here.
Divine.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Mayor Kasakian.
Here.
And may we have roll call for the Housing Authority?
Yes, housing authority members Ajinian.
Here.
Azatarian.
Here.
Divine.
Yeah, here.
Kasakian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Farazian.
Here.
Chair Brotman.
Here.
All right, may we have your report, please?
Yes, the agenda for the Tuesday, April 4th, 2023 joint public meeting of the City Council and Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, March 30th, 2023 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
All right, and please read the item into the record.
Yes, 1, Community Services and Parks regarding reprogramming of various community development block grant, city capital improvement project funds from various program years to avoid returning unspent federal U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD funds back to U.S. Treasury. A City Council motion to reprogram return funding from city and community agency CIP projects totaling $1,812,321.83 from various program years. B, City Council motion to approve a substantial amendment to CDBG, ESG, and Home Annual Action Plans for Program Years 2016-2017, 2017-2018, 2018-2019, 2019-2020, 2021-2022, 2022-2023. Authorized submission of the substantial amendments to the annual action plans to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and authorize the city manager or a designee to redirect excess, canceled, or unused program funds under $50,000 from one project to another with CDBG Advisory Committee approval. C, Housing Authority motion to approve a substantial amendment to CDBG, ESG, and Home Annual Action Plans for Program Years 2016, 2017, 2017 to 2018, 2018 to 2019, 2019 to 2020, 2021 to 2022, 2022 to 2023. Authorized submission of the substantial amendments to the annual action plans to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and authorize the city manager or a designee to redirect excess, canceled, or unused program funds under $50,000 from one project to another with CDBG Advisory Committee approval. D, City Council resolution of appropriation to reprogram community development block grant, city capital improvement project funds from various program years. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Galanian.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor Kasakian, members of City Council, Housing Chair Brotman, members of the Housing Authority. Maggie Kavarian and Community Services Managers already ready to make their presentation. And that comes with a number of recommendations, motions, resolution to effectuate this proposed reprogramming so that we don't lose the funds. Maggie?
Thank you, City Manager Golanian. Mayor Kasakian, members of the City Council, members of the Housing Authority. I am Maggie Kavarian. I'm here to present you with a brief PowerPoint regarding the substantial amendments. No, it's very complex, but I promise to walk you through this and hopefully it'll make some sense. Well, we have 4 reasons why we're reprogramming these CDBG funds. The main reason is that we have a 7-year period of performance that we should meet, and we don't want the funds to be recaptured by the U.S. Treasury. We also have the cancellation of the Pacific Artificial Turf Multipurpose Field Project. We're also requesting to return and reprogram Fremont Park renovation project funds in various program years. And then we also have the return and reprogramming of 3 community agency projects. So let me get into the very first reason. There is a 7-year period of performance for CDBG allocations. The 16-17 year unspent funds are to be returned to the U.S. Treasury on September 30th, 2023. There's about 413,000 at risk, and we would like to reprogram funds from the 3 bullet-pointed projects into the YMCA all-inclusive locker room project. That project is ready to go. They have their permits ready, their Contractor is ready. They just need the additional funds to move the project forward. So there's about $413,000 that we're requesting to reprogram from artificial turf, Pacific Park Playground, and then the Fremont project. Next, I'll get into the Pacific Artificial Turf Multipurpose Field Project. Back in June of 2022, City Council directed staff to cancel the artificial turf project at Pacific Park and replace it with natural grass. In doing so, we have about $1,090,000 that was already programmed in CDBG funds for artificial turf. We're requesting that $740 be set aside for Pacific natural grass, while the $370, which is at risk because it's from program year 16-17, be programmed to the YMCA All-Inclusive Locker Room Project. Any questions as I move forward? I know that's a lot of information.
Question, what, that 300,000 for the YMCA will enable them to complete the project?
Excellent question, Councilmember Devine. Yes, it will close their gap. They have come to us 3 times for funding. Unfortunately, when they went out to bid, they did go out to bid 3 times. Every time they went out to bid, they realized that what they anticipated the project budget to be was no longer. It is actually 50% more than they anticipated. Therefore, they need an additional $546,000 in funds to get them through. And this would be the best way to do it and spend down the funds so we don't lose it as a city.
Thank you.
Next, I'll go into the Fremont Park renovation project.
I have a question. Would you like a question on
Absolutely.
this? So, when you say it's an all-inclusive locker room, what are we talking about?
It's their first floor all-inclusive locker room that they plan on having special areas for changing, to have a caregiver come in with a client that is in either special needs or a senior. They're really looking to move forward with, they have also, at least from what they explained to us, they want to make sure the transgender population feels comfortable. They want to make sure the entire population of Glendale that utilizes that facility has some level of privacy, and this will assist them because the locker rooms are going to be enclosed. They have space for a caregiver and wheelchair access for someone who happens to be in a wheelchair or has some sort of disability that they need to be in there with an additional person. So that's how they have proposed that project, the scope of work to us.
Yeah. That hasn't come before council before, has it?
Well, it has been approved, Councilmember Najarian, 2 previous times because they did request funding twice from us from CDBG. So that project, the scope of work hasn't changed, just the cost has gone up. So they have actually requested funding from us before in 2 previous years.
And it's the YMCA,
The YMCA of
the
Glendale.
one here in, right here.
Correct.
Young Men's Christian Association.
That is correct.
The village people have a song about that.
This might be their, right? Okay, thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the Fremont Park renovation project. There's reprogramming of $223,000 in various program years, a little bit here and a little bit there from program year 16-17 all the way to 21-22. Staff is proposing that we cancel the project, CDBG-wise, cancel the funding, reprogram it elsewhere because $223,000 is not much when it could be up to a $20 million project. So therefore, we're going to reprogram those funds to the YMCA, close their gap, and then whatever's left in 21-22, we're going to place it in the Pacific Park Splash Pad project. Any questions on that before I move forward? And then lastly, we have returned funds from 3 community agencies. The first being Armenian Cultural Foundation. They had an after-school program that they canceled, returning $35,299. And then the Campbell Center. Campbell Center has 2 CDBG projects with us. The first was Alma House. Second was Hamilton House. Alma House did go to bid quite a few times, I believe 3 times as well. And again, what they anticipated, which was $200,000, ended up being $500,000. Therefore, they would like to return Hamilton House funds, take 300,000 from that to close their funding gap, go to construction, and then they're returning the remaining 77,000. And then we have Home Minuteman Autodot Chapter Bleachers Project. The agency decided to cancel this project because they want to focus on their 4 pending projects that are currently in the pipeline now. So they're returning 60,000. So our recommendation is to move that 300,000 to Elm House, and then the remainder going to the Pacific Park splash pad. And this is kind of a breakdown of where it was in program years, the breakdown, and where it's going to. So it's going to the 4 projects that I had mentioned: the YMCA, the Campbell Center Elm House, Pacific Park splash pad, and then Pacific Natural Grass. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions regarding this substantial amendment to reprogram funds, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Before Councilmember Devine asks her question, so I don't know if I have a conflict. I need to clarify. My wife no longer teaches at the YMCA, but had taught exercise classes, for which she was compensated. She earned income from the YMCA. Would that conflict me out from voting on this?
Mayor Kasakian, was those payments in the last year?
Yes.
Let me check.
Yoga, not that, I don't think
May
that
it
matters.
be a source of income to you in the past year, and I just can't remember what the dollar threshold is at the moment. Give me a second, though, and we can check it.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Go ahead,
So,
Councilmember Devine.
So my question is, all of this reprogramming has been approved by the CDBG Advisory Committee?
That is correct, Councilmember Devine. We met on March 6th. We went over this complex PowerPoint, and yes, it was approved, and it was approved slide by slide because we really wanted to explain to the committee what it entailed. As a matter of fact, if I go back to the YMCA actually requested funding in program year 23-24, which is upcoming, and we will be presenting to you that report in May. So it actually freed up that about $550,000 for program year 23-24 for the other agencies. So it was actually a win-win with this way of looking at it.
Okay, anyone else with any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We covered this in the briefing, but maybe you can just explain. I know that we, on CDBG, we are having to deny some funding to some organizations. For example, I know AESA wanted some money for their STEM Academy. We've not been able to do that. You explained to me the difference between this, which is CIP, and the other funds, which are, I guess, what do you call them, program funds or?
Public social services.
Public
correct.
social services. Could you just explain why we can't use this to kind of meet some of those needs?
Absolutely. Councilmember Brotman, members of the Housing Authority and City Council, CDBG has a cap on public social services. It's a 15% cap on public social services. All the money that we have that's left over, either in program income, which is from our program administration, and CIP, has to go into CIP, because CIP is really the reason why we do what we do in CDBG. It's community development funds. So with public social services and that cap, we can't go above that cap, regardless of program year. All that money must be put into CIP. So if I go back to Armenian Cultural Foundation, for instance, that's a good example. Armenian Cultural Foundation is actually a public social services program. It is not a capital improvement program, but unfortunately, we can't reprogram that into another public social services program, because then we'll be off that 15% cap. We'll spend more, depending on whatever program year we're in. So it's kind of it's a slippery slope. So we definitely put all the money into CIP, and we leave it there, and we utilize it only for that, and that's just the HUD requirement. And in 23-24, again, we'll be coming back in May, and I'll be more than happy to explain it even further in May. where you'll actually see the breakdown of all the public social services agencies that requested funding. It was a very difficult year this year. There was over $700,000 requested and only $260,000 to allocate. That's pretty difficult decision-making on behalf of the CDBG Advisory Committee.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else have, yes, authority
First of all,
member
thank you for your
Parazi.
report. I have a question. Is there a specific program that 50,000 should go or should be redirected to?
I believe, Housing Authority Member Papazian, I believe you're talking about the CDBG Advisory Committee
Yes.
unused funds of 50,000. That's been placed into our motion, and the reasoning behind that is anything that's over $50,000, we have to come to the Housing Authority and the City Council for approval. Anything under 50,000, the CDBG Advisory Committee is able to make those funding recommendations. This time around, it didn't work out that way because we had so much money to reprogram, 1.8 million. But usually, if we have a smaller project and it only requires reprogramming of, say, 18,000, we can do that within the CDBG Advisory Committee. So I hope that explains that.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. City Attorney, any clarification on, I mean, I'm happy to recuse myself just to be on the safe side.
Perhaps out of the abundance of caution, you just recuse yourself on the item.
So with that, I can pass the gavel over to our mayor pro tem for this month.
Apologies. If it had to aggregate $500 or more within the last 12 months, and your spouse's income, half of that is presumed to be yours. So,
It wasn't much, I can tell you. It's cutting it very razor thin
okay.
close,
It's
but it's
probably
still.
out of abundance of caution then to
Yeah.
recuse yourself.
All right. So I think that means that the gavel gets passed on to a Housing Authority Chair and Mayor Pro Tem
Are you Mayor
Brotman.
Pro Tem?
Well,
Oh, I'm
until
Mayor Pro
March, so
Tem?
now it's April.
Oh,
It
okay, so I
comes
get
to
to
you.
do it all.
All right.
Okay.
Call me when we're done. I'll be in the
Okay.
back room.
Well, let me pull that up. Okay, so just give me a second here. Yeah, I have it
No,
I have
that's
it
for.
here. Okay. So no public comments, no further questions?
I just have a comment.
Oh, please.
I don't have a question. but
Okay,
We're going
yeah,
into
please.
comments. I do want to make a note that I had the opportunity, along with one of my colleagues, to meet with George from YMCA about their proposal. Issues dealing with people with disabilities is something that's very near and dear to my heart. It's something that I've talked about it publicly, but not off the dais, but one of my best friends who I lost in 2020 had rheumatoid arthritis. And a lot of times when I walk throughout our city, I look at all the ways that our city is not accessible to people with disabilities. And so I want to take this opportunity to commend them in thinking through how they make their space more accessible to people that have a difficulty getting dressed, being able to access the services that they have available. Want to also thank you for your report. I'm all for all the changes that you've recommended.
Thank you. And I would just like to say also thank you for the report, and thanks to the CDBG members, if they're watching, for a lot of hard work. They went above and beyond this time. And finally, I'd just like to say I have also talked to George Cycli, and he explained to me what they want to do with their locker rooms. I think it's wonderful. I think the name is Young Men's Christian Association. I think it is very Christian with a lowercase c, to be making spaces available so all people feel comfortable, including people that are transgender, people with disabilities. I think it's really wonderful what he's doing, and his vision for the YMCA is something we should be proud of. So I'm very happy that this is that we're able to help him finish this project. Okay.
Well, and let's not forget the Campbell Center as well, who is refurbishing their home for the disabled. So we have a lot of good projects, funding going to very important projects. Thank you, Maggie, for your report. I'll move, if I can move all of the items? All of the,
Councilmember,
Council, maybe
Council?
A, B, and D, you
A,
can
B,
move.
and D? I'll move A, B, and D.
A and D for council. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we'll have a roll call first for the council motions.
Okay.
Um,
Council members Asatryan,
Yes?
Brotman,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Najarian, Mayor Kasakian.
And can we have a motion for the housing authority, which is C?
Correct.
Yes.
So,
Second.
Second.
Second, who moved it?
I thought,
Did you make the motion?
Yes, I made the motion.
Okay, and a second, and you'll second. Okay, Councilmember Devine seconds. Okay, and roll call, please.
Housing Authority members Ajinian,
Yes.
Asatryan,
Yes.
Divine,
yes.
Kasakian, Najarian, Parazian,
Yes.
Chair Brotman.
Yes, thank you. And what is next? Do we have,
Get the mayor back.
okay. We can,
The mayor
should we
back.
bring them back before we adjourn, or we can?
Yeah, we can bring it back to adjourn.
Okay, we'll bring them back to adjourn. Okay.
Vote was done?
We're all finished and we're ready for an adjournment.
Okay, motion to adjourn for council?
So moved.
Second.
And motion to adjourn for Housing Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Great.
So we are adjourned.
Thank you. Okay, and next is our regular city council. Let's call the roll call for this.
Council members Asatryan,
Here.
Brotman,
Here.
Divine,
Here.
Najarian, Mayor Kasakian.
Here, let's read the closed session items into the record, and then we have a card from the public on one of them.
Yes. Closed session item A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure litigation pursuant to paragraph subdivisions D2 and E2 of section 54956.9, one potential case. B, conference with legal counsel pending litigation, Karapetian versus City of Glendale, LASC case number 19STCV17066. C, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.9, one potential case. D, public employee performance evaluation, city manager and city attorney. E, conference with legal counsel, pending litigation, Al-Azarian versus City of Glendale, LASC case number 19STCV45225.
Okay, great. We have one card on 1D. Mr. Milano, we'll have 3 minutes.
Mayor Kasakian, members of the City Council and staff, Mr. Golanian, I am addressing your closed session discussion with regard to the performance of the city manager. I, by no means, in my opinion, do I express anything that is against Mr. Golanian. It's just simply a procedural thing that I would love to see the city do. When I last attended a meeting where there was a raise given to Mr. Golanian, I think it was a 5% raise, there was no discussion of any performance outcomes upon which it was based. I'm assuming there is, but it is not available to the public as far as I understand. If the role of the city is to provide for the improvement of the quality of life of residents, if the role for the city is to retain the quality of life that it has and improve it and improve the safety, at the very least, should not there be an open document available to all of us to determine for ourselves whether those have improved? We had one such document before in 2001. It was funded by the state of California, and it was a quality of life indicators report. You know, area by area within the city, it was given, yet I have been asking for something like this for a long time and not have been forthcoming. An attempt was made in 2009, but we don't have an annual quality of life performance report on our quality of life. And to me, how can you assess the effectiveness of a city manager if you don't have such a report? The quality of life reports should include, obviously, the performance on life and safety. And yet my attempts in the past 2 months at trying to obtain how effective the EMS is with regard to cardiac arrest. There are no performance documents available. And that to me is to me quite astonishing, that we cannot evaluate something as critical and as crucial as life and death and how effective EMS is. Year to year, we find in the financials an increased amount of debt. So we have all of this additional taxation that's coming in, the income flows from the various different sources, and yet it appears that we are going into continual additional debt overall for the city. And if I'm correct, shouldn't we have a report on that as part of the assessment of the city manager? And the last one, of course, is the quality of the transparency and information that is even given to us. So I'm not giving an assessment or an opinion of Mr. Golanian's performance. I'm just simply posing that quality of life indicators, how we measure transparency, and how we measure and give to the public a true and effective status of its finances. I think it's an essential part of the job, and I would love to see one given ahead of time to say, and by next year, we're going to be measuring the following performance indicators. Thank you very much.
Point well taken, thank you. With that, there's no other cards. We will recess to closed session at 3:30. Cool, that's it.